What's up, YouTube? I'm doing a 2-month crop update. So everything's been planted now for 2 months. I have a field of beans that's struggling. I'll get over there and we'll check it out. I haven't really looked at it too closely, but it looks like it's behind where it should be. This was my first field. This is my field. This was the first field I planted of soybeans, and it's looking pretty good. It's pretty thick. There is some areas with the planter that I guess I didn't overlap enough. You'll see some misses here. There's gaps right here in the turns. I guess I, just cut the planter, but overall, even up there, you can see some marks in the fields, and you'll definitely see them when I fly the drone here in a minute. You'll see a bunch of spaces in the field. I just didn't overlap enough, and then the other problem was I felt like they're less than 30-inch gaps. People plant 30-inch rows and they fill in, which these are filling in some now. But the other problem was my beans didn't get sprayed. They got sprayed probably about 4 weeks too late. As you can see, there's a couple big weeds out here. Up there, you can see some bigger weeds. So the weeds took over. They were taller than the soybeans, which... Lots of traffic. So there was a lot of competition with weeds. They didn't get sprayed when I wanted them to get sprayed. It was about 4 weeks later. These soybeans are almost up to my waist right here. This area right here is a little bit lower, but there's also water that runs down through here, so it could be that. And there's also some groundhogs that hit a few areas over here heavy. I shot about 9 of them, but there's still a lot. The deer are in here every night. There's a couple nice bucks. I'll show a clip here. This was from a few weeks ago, but when I was riding around, I had my camera with me, and I got the one buck. This was, like I said, this was probably a month ago, so he's still growing. And then here in my field, the weeds were way taller than the beans. Oh, look, there's that buck. There's a nice buck. This is why my beans are suffering, but that's a nice buck running there. All right, that's what I'm talking about. Grow that rack. But decent buck. There's a few of them running around here. Bean pods are starting to come on. You can see here, starting to flower. My beans, all my crops are behind majority of people's. We had a really wet spring, couldn't get in the field. I was working another job daylight, and I didn't get home till late at night, so I couldn't get it done. There was a couple nice opportunities when a lot of farmers got a majority of crops in, and I missed that opportunity. So all my crops are behind, but these soybeans are doing good here. Should have a nice harvest. But anyway, so when the weeds were growing up, they didn't, they were like basically the plants fill in until they're against the other plants, but they were actually against weeds that were in the gaps or filling in there. So the soybeans weren't bushing out and filling in the gaps like they should have because of the weed competition. And then once they sprayed, all the weeds died and went away, as you can see. And now, that was, weeks ago, but now they're bushing out now and filling in some of the gaps, but there's still a lot of gaps, and we'll see that in the drone video is what it is. It was just the weeds died off, and now I'm left with gaps, but these beans are still bushing out, and they're still closing in some. So these outside 3 rows were planted like wide open with my planter also, so very, very heavy. You can see there's not too much of a difference from these outside 3 rows to the other rows, which I dialed back to 45 pounds to the acre is what I planted the rest of it at, which I'll bump it up to 50 at least next time. But I talked to, who was it? Farmall Fanatic said he plants at like 75 pounds to the acre, which would be nice also, especially planting with these controlled spill drills. But happy with the beans. We're gonna fly the drone on this field. Right across the street I have is my cornfield, one of them. Not the one that I kept getting stuck in, but we'll go check that out also. My 10-acre field, or 10 acres, 3 different fields that equate to 10 acres, which is right down the road here. It's like a carpet of beans, but the beans only got about 10, maybe 12 inches tall. I don't know if I'm going to be able to harvest them. It's just really weird. I'm going to have to pull a soil sample. I should have already, because the corn didn't do that good over there last year. The beans did not do good over there this year. It's a carpet. They came in full, but never grew. So maybe there's a pH problem. I gotta, like I said, pull a soil sample. The beans here are doing well. Lots of deer. I'm pretty sure that's what's happened right along the edge here. Deer have been nipping off the tops of the plants. There's been down there on the wood line, the deer have really annihilated the edge. You can see right there, a deer was eating. There's a few spots like that. There's a lot of deer here. I have a camera in the woods over here, get a lot of deer traffic on it. Now that the beans are starting to die, I'm pretty sure that the deer will leave them alone, but a lot of pods in here. You can see down in there, just pods everywhere. So definitely should be a good harvest in this field. My corn across the road's doing real well. It's a DeKalb. I'm not sure the actual variety, but big ears on all the corn. Even that corn I'll show you that I planted down the road in that wet field, about 10 acres. There's a pretty solid stand down there. It looks like it's doing well also. My corn's still pretty green for this is about to be, we're end of September. We're a couple days away from, well, I think tomorrow is actually October 1st. So it's still, I'm not going to be able to harvest corn till probably middle of November at least, because the corn's still pretty green. Hasn't even really started. I mean, it's just started dying, so I'll show you that. I'll stop over there. Soybeans in this field are doing good. I do have, you see in the drone footage, a lot of, it looks a lot better from ground level, but there's a lot of lines in the field from my planter. I didn't overlap enough, I guess, and then because they sprayed the weeds so late, the weeds grew up and didn't let the beans fill in as much as they would have, you know, in those spaces. From the ground, it looks way better. In the air, it looks horrendous, but there's a pretty solid stand of beans here, and they did well. This is my first successful field of beans. I'm glad that I have this field, because if it was just the 10 acres of beans down there, I would have another failure. But so this is probably, well, this is one of the best areas. I have a tree stand back here and trail camera, and have a ton of deer on it coming to and from this field. But the edge of this field right here, you can see all these plants right here are short. They're short because they were all grazed by deer. This hole, for about 10 feet in, down this whole side, you can see all the plants are just nipped off the top. They're all a good bit shorter than the plants out there. This was all from deer damage, but I mean, there's still pods on it. It'll still produce something, but the deer crushed this outside row. And I planted this extra heavy too, compared to over there, but extra heavy doesn't always produce better, that's for sure. It is thick though. Here's the trail going to my bean field that I have my camera on. As you can see, it is a highway that's beat down. I get a ton of pictures. there's a look at my soybeans across the road. As I said, they look a lot better at eye level than they do from the sky. And then this is my 5-acre cornfield across the road down through here. It turned out pretty well. There's one wet spot right back here that didn't, but ton of deer traffic down here. Tracks. This is a highway for deer. They come right up this tree line along the corn here, and there's a dead deer laying right there. I mean, they get smashed. My wife hit one here. There's an apple tree right there. Still has some apples. Between this and the field right on the other side of this tree row, the deer, this is, I'd put a tree stand right in here. But the corn, starting to die down now. Starting to change color. A lot of good ears on it. I mean, the deer have been hitting the outside like always, but well, that's weird, that gray fungus one. Outside rows always get destroyed, but there's some nice ears on it in there. You can see there down along here, all those ears back in there. Just some nice corn on here. Should yield nicely. You can see nice big ears. So nice solid stand, should yield well. Alright, so this is my other lease field. It didn't really do too well last year in corn, and it didn't really do too well this year in soybeans. The weeds are coming back up. It was sprayed, it just never really canopied and grew. I have about 10 acres total over here. There's this longer field, and then there's the back field and that small field over there that's got a couple deer in it. As you can see, all of these soybeans, there's some pods on them. We might be able to harvest this. It's real short. Their beans are short, but they're also, all these beans are grazed. Like I said, they never grew like the beans over there. And then every evening there's deer in this field, so all the beans are grazed off. So you can see every single one of these plants here is topped. I don't know what those are. They're like, they hang out in all the cornfields and they're almost like blue herons, but I don't think that's what they are. So I mean, there's pods on these plants, not a lot. It's definitely not going to yield well. I imagine we should try to harvest it here, but these plants are only 10-12 inches high, so I don't know what we're going to be able to do over here. There's not a ton of pods on them because they're not real tall plants, but the deer ate pretty much on all of these plants. They're all grazed. I planted these soybeans about 2 weeks after I planted my field over there that's real healthy. About 2 weeks later I planted these 3 fields, and then we didn't get rain for a while, and then we went into a bit of a drought, so these plants didn't get a good start. And then I got to do a soil test over here, but I think that there's a pH issue or some sort of nutrient deficiency over here. It's wet ground, even though it's sloped, like down there it's super wet. I got to get some sort of drainage in. It's water. It's a constant battle with mud and water, but all these plants are grazed by deer. It's crazy. Not a lot of bean pods. I'll show you. I mean, like, small pods, looks like only 2 beans. I don't know how many. Typically, maybe is there 3 in a pod or 4, but these pods are small. Plants are short. I mean, they might be able to run the combine through here, but to definitely do. And it's just normally in a field where you have deficiencies, like some areas of the field do good and other like you'll have an area that's doing well and then you'll have an area that's real short like this or something, but it's consistent on all three fields. It's just a carpet of beans, but they never grew tall. All grazed. Yeah, it's kind of stinks. Got a lot of time, effort, and money in over here, but they did not produce. So I definitely have to do a soil sample, see what we have going on here. Hopefully it's something I can throw some nutrients at and adjust it. I was supposed to lime it this year, but it never panned out. It was too wet for the guy with the truck to get in here. And I had a bulk order, a lime. I could have spread it with the spreader cart. I should have went that route. Then this is the back field. I thought it had a solid stand of beans. I don't know what happened back here. Obviously there's really good cover. This field's pretty much completely hidden in the back, but good coverage, completely hidden in the back. But there was a stand of beans here. I can still see beans, but they're all eaten. Everything's, I don't think I can plant beans here anymore. Everything here is pretty much eaten down. There was a solid stand here, but you can't really tell now. It's all mainly just weeds. I mean, like, you can see all the beans here. There's pods, but same thing. Didn't grow. I don't know what it is with this ground over here. I thought they would have done real good back here, but just animals just annihilated these beans, every single plants. And then we have this small backfield. It's just pitiful. Same thing. The weeds the beans only grew 10-12 inches at best. Looks more shorter over here, maybe 10. The weeds are coming back up through. I had this sprayed. They just didn't do anything. Never grew, never filled in. You can see here, pods, they're all grazed. All three of these fields are just grazed off, and they never grew. This is the new ground that I leased this year that was fairly wet when I planted. Right here, the corn's a little thin. I don't know. There was a wet spot right there, possibly. But I have a pretty good stand of corn over here. So I haven't really been over here to check on this. I could see it from the road driving by and saw that there's a pretty solid stand of corn, about 10 acres over here. It looks like it did pretty good for how wet this ground was and how much trouble I had over here, but corn's looking good, solid ears on this DeKalb. I'm glad the beans did good over here at my place. I got a pretty solid stand, 30 acres here. All the beans are a good 2 feet plus tall. They're definitely they're grazed here too on the ends. Right in here in front of us, a deer was eating, but not nearly as bad as that other field. I don't even know if we're gonna be able to harvest it. I was just over there in the woods at my camera. I'm on camera. It sends pictures to my phone. 4 p.m. 4 p.m. I was over there. At 4:20, a little buck is in front of the camera. So I'm trying. We have we have 3 boys. One doesn't live here all the time, and then the other 2, they have mentor license. So I'm gonna try to get them on those bucks. All right. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.